Hello there and welcome into the show. The deeper we get into this FIFA Confederations Cup tournament, the fuller this couch gets. Look at this collection of heavy hitters here. Craig Burley, Alejandro Moreno, Hercules Gomez joins us today.
And his pants.
Yes. Steve Nicol, Hercules with his pants. I'm Adrian Healy.
How excited is Craig?
Gab Marcotti is on the seat as well in Sochi. We'll speak to him very shortly. The reason he's in Sochi is that's where Mexico played New Zealand. Mexico eking out the narrow victory by 2-1. Had to come from 1-0 down at half-time to do so. The brush, Oribe Peralta with the winner just 18 minutes from time. Well, Herc, you lived that one. We were with you in the office with the pants as well, and it was.
I'm taking style tips here.
It wasn't as easy as perhaps many people thought it might have been and should have been for Mexico.
It wasn't, but it should have been. You can't. This is your must-game win if you're Mexico. The first game you're playing against Portugal, the European champions, and one of the best players in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo. Nothing is guaranteed. Against the host country, nothing is guaranteed. Against New Zealand, it should be more of a guarantee. Juan Carlos Osorio has been heavily criticized with the way he rotates players, with his systems, with the way he's always changing things up. 8 changes to this lineup. It looked like they didn't know who was to the right of them, who was to the left. They've never been playing before together. That's what it looked like, because that's what it was. They haven't played a lot together, and it showed. New Zealand, if not for Wood and his inability in front of goal, it could have been a different story. This shouldn't have been that hard for Mexico.
It's one thing to rotate players.
Yes.
But when you make 8 changes, that's more than rotation. Now, you're thinking to yourself, are we, just in the message that he's sending to his own players in the locker room, you're underestimating New Zealand as it is.
Exactly.
And maybe you should, because you should be superior to New Zealand. But the truth is that if you don't have a group that has worked together and you make 8 changes in that group, then what are you going to get? A team that's all over the place, that is disorganized, that is disconnected, and at times disinterested in the first half. New Zealand had their opportunities to really make a run in this game. They did not take advantage of those opportunities, and then Mexico came back because simply, 1-for-1, they're better than New Zealand. They're more talented, and that took over towards the end of the match.
But I can't get my head around this. If you are going to make changes, and you are looking at a broader circle of players, then surely this is the competition to do it. It's not. I think it's a bit of a friendly competition, but it's not a friendly match per se. But it's not the World Cup.
Yeah.
Or a big tournament like that.
Well, it's a trial run, though, Craig.
So you wouldn't make 8 changes if he was playing a World Cup
Exactly.
match. So it is a good opportunity to do it and try things out. It just depends whether your supporters, your nation, your backers can accept that it might not be the performances that they want.
The fact that Mexico are taking this so seriously, this is the game to get players a game. It's New Zealand they're playing against. Regardless of making 8 changes, if you're Mexico, you have to be able to go and beat New Zealand. And it's the right game to do it.
But you have to have a core group of players that stays on the field.
Ale is right, within reason. You can't just make 8 changes.
Well,
the thing is, this is Juan Carlos Osorio's
one of those
MO.
New Zealand
His
players
changes
plays
have
for
been the vein of his
Mexico.
existence in Mexico. He's heavily criticized for these changes. That said, the man gets results. He's only lost twice, one official competition, and it happened to be the 7-0 loss to Chile in Copa America.
Let's go out to Sochi. Gab Marcotti is there. He was at the game. Gab, what did you make of the game? What did you make of the first half when Mexico went down by a goal? And what do you make of what the guys are saying? Osorio has been heavily criticised, hasn't he, for his squad rotation?
Well, first of all, to Craig, Osorio always rotates. As we said, he did it at the Copa America last year. He is taking this tournament seriously. Mexico's taking it seriously. What shocked me wasn't so much the rotation. I mean, fine, you want to rotate. It's the way he set them up. You're playing New Zealand. You know they've got big fellas at the back. As if you knock the ball long, they'll probably win the aerial headers. So what do? You go out there and you play effectively with 2 static target men center forwards in Peralta and Jimenez, which I didn't understand at all. You know that they're going to press you high up the pitch because that's what they do. That's what they said they would do. And you don't play with anybody who can pass the ball in midfield except for Reyes and theoretically Fabian. I don't understand this approach. To me, it's not so much the rotation, although that's what he's going to get hammered for. It's the way he set these people up. And, I think as Alejandro said, in the second half, they have better players. They bring in Herrera and whatever else, and eventually they win. But goodness me, he's a lot of hard work.
Mexico have got some good... As Stevie said, none of those New Zealand players probably get in the Mexican team, right? But maybe Mexico and the supporters are getting ahead of themselves here. Because even their strongest team isn't great. What was the result against Portugal again? Was it
2-2.
I saw them draw against the
yeah.
USA,
Yep.
who were under pressure, by the way, at the Azteca. They weren't great. Portugal 2-2, and again not great today. So even if he plays a stronger team, Mexico are actually not all that. They're half decent, but they're not great.
Do you think it's fair to say it's tactics rather than personnel, Gab's point?
Well,
Osorio
I don't
getting
happen
those
to agree with
tactics
Gab. If you look at the way this team was, the tactics, it's three in the back, those wing back players. It's to create numerical advantages on the wings. They felt they can expose New Zealand on the wings. Yes, they're not going to go in knocking balls and knocking crosses into the big aerial men. But if you look at the other games, sometimes Chicharito Hernandez will play on the left, sometimes Raul Jimenez will play on the right. They don't have those two men just staying there.
Yeah.
It's to open them up. But the thing is, they didn't take advantage of their chances. They let a New Zealand team into the game. Like I said, if not for the inability of Wood in front of goal, it could have been a very different game.
Chicharito Hernandez can't play in a wider position. You know, he can't drift out. He can't control the ball. He can't pass the ball.
He can't, but he's been playing it and he's been scoring goals in it.
He's a
it's Juan
penalty-
Carlos Osorio's system. He tries to find a weakness as an opponent and he tries to
He's a
exploit it.
penalty box striker, and he's no more.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. But this is the way he's been getting results. And it's very difficult to argue with his results. As bad as they played today, they won. This man has only lost twice in competition.
But the truth is that a player like Chris Wood, who honestly, just a big, tall, strong guy that
Leeds United.
that has no mobility whatsoever, that his touch is not very good, that cannot get around defenders. He was dominating Mexico today, overpowering Mexico today, and there was no real adjustment as to the way that Mexico plays. That in itself tells you a little bit of what Mexico is right now and how much they need to improve.
Final thoughts on this one from Gab.
I think Ali said it. Yeah, they need to improve. And by the way, one final thing on Chris Wood. You guys are all laughing at him and blah blah blah. He was the top goal scorer in the championship in England, the second tier of English football. So a modicum of respect, please, for the championship.
For all the very latest for the Confederations Cup, don't forget our website, espnfc.com. Not to mention the unfolding saga of one Cristiano Ronaldo. So at Spartak Stadium, Cristiano Ronaldo's 74th international goal, enough for Portugal to edge out Russia. They had chances to extend their lead. Russia left it late, a late flurry, but to no avail. So Russia still have it all to do in their last game against Mexico. And this is why the standing showing Russia a point behind Mexico. Portugal play New Zealand in their last game, so they have the inside track for qualification. Mexico need just a tie to prevail against the host nation. Well, let's see if Gab Marcotti is suitably excited. He joins us from Russia. Let's talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, Gab, because, hey, just like that, President Florentino Perez comes out and publicly defends Ronaldo, says those tax problems will be smoothed over, and Ronaldo seems to have changed his tune about his Real Madrid future.
Yeah, amazing how these things work. Look, I think, as ever, there are things going on in the background. Certainly on the tax front, there's new suggestions coming out, being reported in Germany by Der Spiegel, so that's not helping. But I think this is a natural process. Look, if Cristiano is to leave the club, he's not just going to go and say, look, I don't want to play here anymore, and Real Madrid say, oh, really? Okay, fine, you go ahead. They would need to hold out for a price they want and all this other stuff. So clearly, they would want to kind of raise the stakes, give off that impression. Again, personally, I still think he's going to stay, but I wouldn't read too much into what the two sides have said right now. I think what matters more is what happens down the road once the Confederations Cup is over.
Stevie, you were spitting some vitriol in Ronaldo's direction yesterday on social media when he read he changed his mind.
Well, I think players have got a responsibility to the fans. And for somebody who's probably sitting with 100 million in the bank to start crying because of a tax bill and start complaining that his club's not looking after him, I'm a fan. And I look at that and I'm thinking, do you realise how lucky you are to be in the position you are? And you're going to rub it in people's faces with all the money you have, and you're going to complain about a tax bill? Listen, the guy's a fantastic football player, But he's got a lot to learn as far as his ego.
Has he said, Real Madrid are not looking after me? Or has he just said, it's time for a change? Well, I'm not suggesting that's not the reason, but has he actually come out and said, well, this club are not doing enough for me?
Listen, it's no coincidence that he ends up with a big tax bill and then the following day turns around and says, they're not looking after me, they're not showing me any love. I mean, is this a coincidence?
No, it's not a coincidence,
no.
But I don't know that I'm defending Ronaldo here, but you feel that there's a connection between the club and Ronaldo, right? And you feel that there's got to be a relationship. And I think he throws this out there to see what kind of support he gets from Real Madrid. When he doesn't get that support, regardless of what the amount of money is and what the tax bill is, I think this is about feelings. And the emotion gets involved. And when emotion gets involved, then it becomes personal. And at that point, that's when Real Madrid then... because they don't come out.
I'm going to start crying in a minute.
Well,
I'm really going to start crying in a minute. Hold on a second.
No.
The club looks after Ronaldo by paying him £700 million a week, and he looks after the club by scoring 700 million goals. There you go. It's called professional football.
Yeah, but Alejandro's right. It is about feelings. How many times in the regular season? How many times in the regular season have you heard him say, "I don't like being booed. I don't want them to boo"? For him, it's about feelings. It's about sentiment. He wants to feel appreciated.
He's a professional football player. Every single one of us at one stage has got booed.
All right, Stevie. I understand what you're saying. All I'm telling you is that this is not about the amounts of money. Okay? It doesn't matter how much money Ronaldo has or doesn't have. And it's not about how much of a tax bill he has to pay or doesn't have to pay. It's the fact that he wanted somebody to come out and say, we support Cristiano Ronaldo. And nobody really did from Real Madrid. Not right away, anyway.
Let's get Gab in on that.
I've got feelings too, you know.
Yeah. Well, we'll come to those in a minute. Gab, is this a fair assessment? Ronaldo just needed a bit of public love from his president?
I don't really buy that because I think, Ronaldo's difficult to figure out, but, he's not a child. I wonder if the theory we talked about last night that, could this be Florentino to some degree perhaps orchestrating the situation, obviously not the tax bill, but the reaction to it, to see if there is appetite, perhaps to let him go, given that he's on the hook with Ronaldo for another 3 years into the season where he turns 36 years old. He's going to pay him an enormous amount of money. Even a year ago, they were talking about the post-Ronaldo plan. Could this have something to do with it? Personally, I think if Ronaldo really wanted to leave and they could put together a decent offer, and it wouldn't have to be 250, 300 million, the crazy numbers people throw now, I think it would need to be probably under 100 million or close to that, then I think Florentino would be tempted to pull the trigger if it's Ronaldo saying, I want to leave. He does not want to be remembered as the president who sold Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think Cristiano perhaps to some degree senses that.
Coming up, he was only the second top scorer in the German Bundesliga last season. Does that mean Robert Lewandowski won't be playing in the Bundesliga next year? Let's continue with Gab Marcotti. Gab, Robert Lewandowski, the subject of much transfer speculation. Bayern have reacted quite angrily to that, saying they will seek FIFA sanctions if any clubs approach Lewandowski. Fighting talk, is that going to be enough to put off the likes of Chelsea and Manchester United?
Look, I think we've been here before with Lewandowski and Lewandowski's people. You'll remember a couple years ago, same issue, except it was Real Madrid at the time, right? Look, this is how intermediaries make their money. They know that Manchester United are looking for a center forward and can afford one. They know that Chelsea are looking for a center forward and can afford one. And they try to put together a deal. And certainly if you're Lewandowski's agent, you don't mind when people go out and do that. But the thing is, you need to get the club to agree. In modern football, it's rare that you have a player, certainly a guy like Lewandowski, in a position where he forces through a move. They're trying to bring a deal to the table. But ultimately, I think it's down to Bayern. And I'm not even sure that it's Lewandowski himself initiating this. But clearly, if you get a nice package on the table, a big club like United and Chelsea, maybe you'll think about it. But ultimately, you'd have to agree a price with Bayern, and they can be pretty stubborn.
Craig, Lewandowski's agent came out and criticised the club for not doing enough to help him to win the Golden
I'm
Boot.
sick of agents. Clowns, most of them. Money grabbers.
But that's
taking millions out of the game. No, well, that's just stupid. Talking about, I didn't win the Golden Boot, because at the end of the day, it's about Bayern Munich. And I think what was more worrying, that they crashed out of the Champions League and the way they did.
They were saying they didn't do enough on the last day of the season to help him get the two goals to overhaul Aubameyang.
I don't really think that makes a difference. I presume Bayern Munich are okay about clubs phoning up and putting in a bid in the normal circumstances for Robert Lewandowski, like they do when they go pillaging to Borussia Dortmund and other clubs for players. So, it's the poacher being poached here, potentially.
Yeah. What did you make of this reason for Lewandowski being unhappy? I've heard some excuses in my... This seems pretty thin, doesn't it?
We're reaching here.
Yeah.
We're reaching. And so is Robert Lewandowski, by the way.
Right.
And a team like Bayern Munich is not used to being in a position where other teams are trying to poach, as you just mentioned, Craig, their talent away. They're usually the ones in a power position. So maybe they're a little uncomfortable by this, but the player is under contract, and any other team would have to come through Bayern Munich. And in order to get it, Robert Lewandowski to move away from Bayern Munich, they're going to have to pay an incredible amount of money.
Hook, would you ever have got upset if you were chasing a Golden Boot and you felt the club didn't do enough? I know it's a big if.
No, you can't. It's a very big if. You can't, as a player. Craig said it himself. You have to worry about the team. What do they care about? What do they care about feeding the ego of the player or the agent? If he comes to Golden Boot, the agent has more of an arsenal to go out and sell him, But you guys are right. It's just about poaching. They don't have it. They don't have any qualms when they poach. When they poach Matt Hummels from Dortmund. So it's.
Hold on a second. Didn't you used to wear a Superman jersey underneath your shirt back in the day?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
With the San Diego Gauchos.
There's no Superman jersey.
There was Superman Gomez.
Yeah. Superman Gomez.
It's Superman
Who,
Gomez.
by Brian Ching?
Yeah, you Superman Gomez, weren't you?
I think there's a few. I think there's a few skeletons in the closet here with this guy. Do you think when people look at that graphic with Aubameyang above him, that's got anything to do with clubs going, maybe we should sign Pierre Aubameyang before Robert Lewandowski?
Yeah, because he scored one more goal.
I would be surprised if a player of his class would even be saying something like that. I would be shocked.
Well, it was the agent, and the agent was specifically.
There you go.
Well, he was specifically calling out Carlo Ancelotti.
Well, it's
the
a ploy
manager,
by the
saying
agents, right?
He didn't do enough.
It's a ploy by them. But you know what? If I'm Bayern Munich, I know everybody supposedly has a price, but Bayern Munich don't need money. Bayern Munich need the Champions League, and so, in order for them to shift a player like Lewandowski, it would have to be absolutely astronomical. And it's not going to be.
No, they got him for free as well, didn't they? Next edition of ESPN FC. Check your local listings. The continuing unfolding drama of Messrs Lewandowski and Ronaldo, for sure.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million. What color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Now, Mohamed Salah will undergo a medical in advance of potentially moving to Liverpool from Roma. Stevie, your take on...
A bit difficult to the old medicals he used to get.
Yeah, very, very difficult.
What were those like?
The old chop the knees.
That was it. You good,
Is he the answer for Liverpool?
Initially I wasn't sure, because I'm thinking, well, he's not better than Mane on the right-hand side, or he's not better than Coutinho on the left. But the more I think about it, Liverpool... Number one, have to expand the squad. They're in the Champions League. And actually, this guy, if Sané or Coutinho's injured or whatever the problem is, they're not playing, then Liverpool's level doesn't really drop that much. So I think that's the key. I wouldn't say he's better than either of those two, but if those two are not playing and he comes in, then the level doesn't really drop an awful lot. And that's the key for this guy.
What do you make of him, Herc?
Exciting young player, pacey. Obviously, you don't lose anything when adding a player of that caliber. Why wouldn't you want him?
Well, to your point, Stevie, if you go back to last season and Sané goes to the African Cup of Nations, it felt like everything disappear for Liverpool, and all of that offensive creativity that we had seen early on in the year seemed to disappear. The roof was caving in, and there was nobody to turn to, and everybody was looking around and said, well, who's going to score the goals now? Who's going to create for us? Who's going to provide that little bit of change of pace? Maybe Mohamed Salah can be that option.
Is he a different player to the one Chelsea let go a few years ago?
Well, in truth, he never really got an opportunity at Chelsea. And he goes to Italy, to Fiorentina, and he does great. And he sort of brings his confidence back up. I think it's a great bit of business from Liverpool's perspective, purely because it gives Klopp more options. He's a talented player. He's a player that will play with energy. He can create things as well. So, yeah, it might not be a starting slot for him, but when you throw in potential Champions League if they get through the qualification, I think it's a great signing.
Serie A to Premier League is the theme, it appears. Dani Alves could be on his way from Juventus to Manchester City. Juventus have said, on you go, not going to have to play the last year of your contract. Good move for City? Good move for Pep Guardiola? What do you think, Craig?
Time will tell. We talked about his defensive problems all season on the show, so Alves is absolutely magic going forward, but he will look bad if this Man City defence, again, looks bad this season, and that's the big issue.
Yeah, but it's a no-brainer for Manchester City. On a free, a guy that you're familiar with if you're Pep Guardiola, that you know what he's going to give you. If you're expecting this guy to be a hold-down defender, then forget about it. He's not going to shut down anybody defensively. But he does give you an outlet down the right-hand side. We saw how important he was to Barcelona, not only when he was at Barcelona, but when he wasn't at Barcelona, and how different of a team Barcelona became without him on the field. So it's important. It's important for Manchester City. It's important for Pep Guardiola.
It's an odd one because only a couple of months ago we were talking about Dani Alves being one of the free signings of the decade for Juventus.
He's a very good player. He's not going to be a lockdown defender like you said, but you know what he provides going forward. He's one of the best right backs to ever play the game. Now, with Pep Guardiola, you don't bring Pep Guardiola in if you want a defensive team. You want that free-flowing attack, that free-flowing football. This is one of those players that understands that system. He knows the ins and outs of Pep Guardiola. Let Pep Guardiola work. Let him assemble his team.
It's not a long-term solution, though, for Manchester City.
No, in that position, Manchester City in the last couple of seasons have got nothing. Whether it's been Sanya, whether it's been Zabaleta, they've got nothing going down that right-hand side. So clearly, going forward, the right-hand side is so much better now with that signing.
How do you feel about the way Dani Alves ended his time in Turin? Coming out saying Dybala needs to move on, tweeting photos of his boots that...
I might not sleep tonight worrying about that.
No, but I mean...
Yeah, I know, it's got a bit messy. It was a bit messy at the end when he left Barcelona. He was smarting from the fact that they were not prepared to pay him what he wanted. And it just seems so strange. Great time at Juve. We were in the Champions League final when he didn't have a great final, but we expected that battle with Marcelo to be great. And all of a sudden, it just sort of unfolds. But a free transfer, a guy who recently has been in Champions League finals for Barcelona and Juventus, it is, apart from the salary, it is a no-brainer.
Not the way you should have ended it, though, is it, Ali?
Well, from the perspective of Juventus, I know that maybe some feelings got hurt because of whatever he said, but you almost think this guy was very important to your success in Champions League. Maybe you can sometimes just turn a deaf ear and you say, you know what, we're not going to pay attention to whatever Dani Alves is saying. So there must have been some things going on behind closed doors that maybe we're not privy to.
City for the treble next year with Dani Alves on board?
Wow.
Not quite. All right, to be continued. We'll see you next time. A power-packed edition of ESPN FC Extra Time today. The pants to the fore as well, courtesy of Hercules Gomez.
Where's the power coming
I have to say, we just crashed into this as I was getting some holiday information.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt. The very important information.
I'm not going to share where it might be going.
A lot of paparazzi. Paparazzi around.
Not paparazzi.
The fans.
It's more people trying to...
That's why you should share it, so we can all stay away.
So stay away, yeah.
It may be southern latitudes. Someone who's heading to more northern latitudes is Dani Alves. He's released by Juventus. Looks like Manchester City have him. Espen Tangen wants to know, is Dani Alves really what Manchester City need? They need great defenders. He's like Ramos, good in the wrong part of the pitch. Stevie?
I'm with Espen Tangen all day long.
Speaks your language, huh?
There's absolutely no doubt going forward Dani Alves is absolutely fantastic. The question marks are all, can he defend? one-on-one defending in particular? And the answer would have to be no, he's not really that good at that. And City are clambering for somebody at the back who can actually just do the basics to a high standard and no drama.
Well, you don't hire Pep Guardiola to be a good defensive team. You hire him because of what.
Well, they've achieved that.
No, you're right.
Let him try to implement his style, bring his players. He obviously knows the system. You know, he believes in it as a player. He can be very good not only on the field but in the locker room.
Does Pep think he can get away without
No.
necessarily building a good defence?
Sorry, is there a private joke over here?
No, he was off a serious there.
He's got a beard now.
I'm trying.
Try to do what?
Grow a beard.
Come on, dear, hurry up.
It's been a while.
I don't think who asked me that
I mean,
question?
he won plenty with Dani Alves at right back.
I don't
with
think he's as
Barcelona.
ignorant to think he can't think about defending. No matter what he'll say to the press sometimes, I think he knows where his deficiency lies at City. Centre half. I think your fullback is less inclined to be a problem defensively than when your two centre backs are struggling. If your two centre backs are struggling, then it's a problem. If you can sort that out, the two fullbacks might have a little bit more leeway.
But maybe he thinks that Company and Otamendi is enough. But you have to keep Company healthy, and you have to get the performance from Otamendi that you did towards the end of the season. Who, by the way, to be fair to him, at the end of the season was much better than he was throughout the course of the year. If you get those performances, then maybe it's a different team.
Let's move on. VAR has been a subject of much debate.
Is he?
Federations Cup. VAR. Well, it's a triple-barreled name.
That's somebody's nickname. Like CR7, VAR, no.
Daniel, probably a little tongue-in-cheek, says, should referees get red or yellow cards if they make the wrong decision after watching VAR replay? Yeah, but this is the heart of the matter, isn't it? I mean, it's still down to human interpretation.
Yeah, which, by the way, it was human interpretation that got it wrong to begin with, the decision, or missed out on a decision, and then they go back and watch the video, and it's still the same interpretation that is getting it wrong. I think the best example was a handball by the Australian player in that game against Germany, in their second goal. How it's a clear handball, but somehow somebody interprets that that's not it, and the goal stands. All those things got to be cleaned out.
Yeah, and you have to realize this is a resource for the referees, not an absolute. It's still up to their discretion, but they should absolutely be reprimanded if they get it wrong.
Probably not with a red or yellow card.
Well, for the next game, maybe they're on the shelf for a bit.
Who's going to give them the red or yellow? Daniel, that's what we want to know. Craig, this final question has you written all over it. It comes from Mules. What's better, Confederations Cup or Europa League? If you had to sit in a room and only watch one of them, if you had, but could only watch one of those two, which
Confederations Cup all day.
All day.
Yeah.
Aye.
yeah.
It's also a shorter competition.
Well, I'm sure that played
It's
into
not 384 teams in the Confederations Cup.
That's shorter.
Shorter
It's
competition.
short, more condensed.
More condensed. You can watch it with mules if you want to.
Is it a fair
I don't
comparison
have
to
a
make
problem
them?
with the Confederation. Well, I do. But I don't know. Well, as Gab Marcotti, our colleague, tried to argue with me, it was so important that FIFA are thinking about disbanding it and making it some.
They are going to disband it.
Oh, they are. They're making it some club competition. Look, I haven't got a problem if people say, yeah, OK, it's a dry run for the World Cup, and we'll do what we do with it. But don't try and tell me it's something else.
Don't they already have the club competitions, the Club World Cup? What are they trying to do? Expand on that?
The Club World Cup? Oh, don't start me on that.
You should add that to that question.
Exactly. That's a better one.
Aren't you waiting to book your next vacation at the venue of the next FIFA Club World Cup? Isn't that what you're going to do?
Well, depends on my travel agent. Who's looking to send me somewhere rather dodgy.
It's difficult being your travel agent. I have to get a good place for you where there's no paparazzi, no fans.
Cheap.
And cheap.
Forget TripAdvisor, by the way.
Most
Gomez
importantly,
is
you
your
got to
man.
find
when
a
it-
place that has beer.
That will not be a problem.
I heard Gomez is going to put TripAdvisor out of business the way he's going now.
Well, I'm expectant. I'm expecting something hot, something cheap, something nice.
The hot, cheap,
Well, that's
and
what
nice.
I told the wife. Cheap anyway.
Torremolinos?
Yeah.
That's not nice.
It's a very not nice place in Spain.
Yeah.
Hot, cheap, and nice, the theme of the next edition of ESPN FC, which you can catch Thursday, 6 o'clock Eastern on ESPN News.